President Bongbong Marcos concludes his four-day state visit to Indonesia and Singapore. The president witnessed the signing of agreements including deals on counterterrorism, data privacy, and job recruitment. The Interagency Task Force recommends the optional use of face masks outdoors. While this have yet to be implemented, the palace says the recommendation received positive feedback from the president. And manufacturers are flagging a possible shortage in sardines, with commercial fishers limited to operating in non-municipal waters. High costs of raw materials are also seen to drive prices of canned sardines up. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Riza Diaz. The IATF has recommended the optional use of face masks outdoors. Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles clarifies, though, that this is still a proposal and not yet a policy. She added that senior citizens and immunocompromised individuals are still highly encouraged to wear face masks. Dr. Rene de Grano, president of the Private Hospitals Association of the Philippines, welcomes the move, saying COVID cases and hospitalizations remain very much manageable at the moment.
Well, I think this one of the steps towards normalcy. If really we can find that, or we are finding that the cases are going down, then probably we can start doing this. We can probably try this outdoors, but inside buildings and those areas with not very good ventilation, we should, I think, continue with using the mask.
However, one infectious disease expert is calling for caution over the proposed policy. Dr. Ronjin Solante believes it's not the best time to implement such policy change because it might encourage more complacency. He added that this could send the wrong message and discourage people from getting their booster shots. Should the policy push through, Solante suggests requiring face masks for immunocompromised individuals and elderly, regardless if they're outdoors. Manufacturers warn about a possible shortage in canned sardines later this year. The Canned Sardines Association of the Philippines said commercial fishing vessels are having a hard time catching, with fishing area being limited. Most sardine fish swim in municipal waters where commercial vessels are not allowed to operate. The group says limited supply of tamban and higher cost of raw materials could push prices of canned sardines up.
So kung magkukulang ng fish supply ngayon, hindi maka-build up ng inventory, walang masyadong tamban doon kasi nagmamigrate siya sa loob ng municipal water, kasi ang hypothesis ko dyan, yung plankton kasi ngayon nasa municipal water. Ang plankton kasi, ito yung pagkain ng isda.
For its part, the Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Bureau clarified that commercial vessels are allowed in certain areas of municipal waters. However, this is still up for approval from local governments.
Sinasabi ng batas na pwede naman buksan ang 10.1 to 15 kilometers sa commercial fishing vessels, subalit kailangang pumayag ang local government units subject to conditionalities. Dapat makapagpalabas din ng ordinansa. Malinaw sa batas na dapat ang municipal waters ay sadyang para sa mga municipal fisherfolk lamang.
More stories after this short break. Stay with us. Diaz. President Bongbong Marcos ends his Singapore visit on a high note after sealing 5 agreements with ASEAN city-state. Marlena Kaide with a story.
President Bongbong Marcos had a jam-packed second day in Singapore with back-to-back meetings scheduled. The president met with Singaporean President Halima Yacob and Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong to discuss key regional and global issues. 5 bilateral agreements were sealed during the state visit. These include Memorandum of Understanding for Digital Cooperation and Data Protection and agreements on regional counterterrorism cooperation, a Memorandum of Understanding on the development of New Clark City, and a joint communique on the recruitment of Pinoy health workers were also signed. In an economic briefing, President Marcos invited more investors to take part in the Philippines' economic recovery.
We will change the game by structural reforms that we have set in place to allow for wider participation in our industries.
In terms of tourism, both countries discussed easing travel requirements for Filipinos and Singaporeans.
One of the problems we have is, for instance, in the President's Economic Recovery Program, tourism is front and center of that. This is one of the biggest opportunities we have. If we can do it with Singapore, then perhaps we can standardize it with many more countries and we can encourage more travelers.
Singapore and Philippines also agreed on importance of maintaining peace and freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. Both countries believe that the dispute can be resolved peacefully. Meanwhile, as part of welcoming traditions, an orchid was named after President Bongbong Marcos and First Lady Liza Araneta this morning. The new hybrid or variety of orchid was named Dendrobium Ferdinand Marcos. The orchid naming ceremony signifies close ties between the Philippines and Singapore. President Bongbong Marcos and cabinet members will head back to the Philippines tonight, capping off his 4-day state visit to Indonesia and Singapore. For News 5, Marlene Alcaide, we are One News.
Now here's a quick look at today's other top stories. The Commission on Appointments has approved the nomination of George Garcia as chairman of the Commission on Elections. President Bongbong Marcos appointed Garcia, who briefly served as Comelec Commissioner before being passed by the CA. The Philippine Statistics Authority says the impact of oil price hikes and the weakening of the peso could be felt only after 2 months. August inflation remains elevated at 6.3% on the back of high oil prices, while the Philippine peso sank to a new all-time low, trading at 57 pesos against the greenback. And a tropical storm was spotted outside the Philippine area of responsibility today. This weather disturbance will likely enter PAR this afternoon or tonight and will be named Inday. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.